Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about why you should not write, highlight, or tab in your medical coding manuals. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so I have a lot of people writing in telling me that they're starting their medical coding journey. They're going to learn independently. I got a really good comment, so I'm going to read the comment and then we're going to get into it. So here we go. All right, so the comment reads, hello. I just recently found your page and subscribed. Best decision ever, by the way. I love all of your tips and your laugh is the best laugh ever. Thank you. Your energy and passion for medical coding radiates off the screen. I followed your step-by-step study prep and ordered the 2023 books you recommended from Optum. They're on sale, 55% off. I do have one question though. Do you recommend prepping the books with a highlight color system or tabbing? I'm self-studying for the CCDS. My main focus right now is step 1, the medical terminology. But I just want to know when I start studying from the Optum books. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. I feel so much more prepared for this amazing journey. Okay, well, thank you very much for your comment. And so here's the thing. Now, when it comes to writing, highlighting, or tabbing in any of your medical coding manuals, I do not recommend this. I emphatically do not recommend doing this practice because of the simple fact, yes, everybody learns differently, but these medical coding manuals are meant as reference tools. They are your reference tools, and if you are practicing with them like you are supposed to, you will not need the tabs. Tabs can cause your books to tear, the pages on your books to tear. And you are not allowed in any of the medical coding certification exams to have tape or to have any kind of sticky notes or anything on your books. So if you don't want your pages to be torn, then you may want to leave those tabs off of there. Now, with the American Health Information Management Association, they used to be very particular about the tabbing and everything in their books. So before, when I took the test, first time back in 2008, I took the CCA, there was no tabbing allowed. Now they've changed it and they said, well, if the tabs come with the books, you can use the tabs. I am here today to tell you, you do not need the tabs if you are working and practicing with the book like you are supposed to, 20 hours per week while you're studying. You will not need those tabs. You will know exactly where to go because you become well versed in where everything is. It's the people who want to do the shortcuts, who want to do the things to crack the exam and just pass the test so they can get out into the world and find a job that want to do those things. But those folks, more often than not, are not prepared. They are the ones who are completely lost and want somebody to hold their hand. In this industry, you will find that veteran coders oftentimes will not help you. They want you to learn on your own because that's what they went through. Do I think it's right? No. However, I like to set people up for success. So it all starts in the beginning, in your formative time as a medical coder, that you start learning to use your manuals properly. And if you're using good quality books, like the ones from Optum360coding.com, Optum Books is the one that I recommend always and forever for ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS. But we all have to have the same CPT manual, which is a CPT professional edition from the AMA. Okay, we all have to have that one. It's a fantastic book as well. But when it comes to the diagnosis book and the inpatient procedures book, if you're taking one of those exams like the CCS or the CCA or the CIC, and you're going to need the ICD-10 PCS, Optum is the book that I recommend because of the simple fact that the way that those books are created, there's a lot of supplemental information in them, and you're able to learn a lot more. For instance, at the beginning of every chapter in the ICD-10-CM book with Optum, there is examples, there are the rationales to go with it, and everything that you need to know about coding for that particular specialty. So that's why I recommend those, because it's an additional way to learn. And you can look at the question, you can try to work it out yourself and then look at the answer. That's additional things that you can do to be looking up codes in the book. You have to get the practice looking up codes in the book. This is so imperative. And a lot of people say, well, Blue, there's encoders out there. Why do we need to learn on these books? Because you cannot use the encoder when you are taking a medical coding certification exam. You have to use your manuals. So for the time being, if you are a student, I do not recommend that you get comfortable with the encoder. The encoder will come later. And that's something that you'll learn on the job. Now it's different with every facility. Some facilities don't have encoders actually, and there are a lot of them that do. So and every encoder is going to be different depending on the EMR that you're using, right? So you want to make sure that you're proficient with the books. Now the books are going to be your friend here because the books cannot lead you wrong. If you're working with an encoder and you're a brand new medical coder, you're going to find this out real quick, because when you're looking up codes in the encoder, you have to know the pathway. And when it's asking you questions, you have to know the answer to those. If you don't, it can lead you in different directions, okay? So that's why you have to be sure to have that book as a backup. Now, I always recommend books because I'm a book lover and I respect books. If you respect books, they will help you. If you're writing and highlighting and tabbing and God forbid circling, I heard about that circling deal with the CPT manual. Oh, that you circle the parent code and the child code so that way when you go to that section, you don't get confused. Okay, if it's that easy to confuse you that you don't know how to see a parent code and then an indentation for a child code, if you can't see that, guys, you need more practice. That's unacceptable. To me, that's just like, are you serious? You need a circle for you to be able to remember that when you can't just look at the book? So that's why I'm saying it's so important for you all to learn how to use the manuals. I am all about making students apply critical thinking. I'm not about the shortcuts. I'm not about getting you to learn it fast so you could crack the exam. I'm about y'all learning the right way so that when you get out in the real world, you'll be prepared. There's a lot of competition out there in the real world. There's competition with veteran medical coders. There's competition with the electronic health record. And oh, Blue, everybody wants to use the electronic health record. Yes, the electronic health record is great. It selects codes, but it's selecting codes that the doctor is documenting and it's saying, okay, well, here's the code for this. But it doesn't always mean those codes are correct. 95% of the time, you're going to have to make some kind of correction, or there's going to be something that needs to be queried. So that's why I say that if you get really good with a book, there's nothing that can beat a critically thinking medical coder. Nothing in this world that can beat it. Because that means that you have that human understanding, which is what a lot of people are trying to bypass and trying to get, this little shortcuts. And that's not the way to be, guys. When you're learning medical coding, we have to know what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. This means that we have to work harder to catch up. It's not impossible, and I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm not saying this to overwhelm you or discourage you from getting in, because trust me, if it's this easy to get you to be discouraged to get in, this wasn't for you in the first place. But what I'm saying is this: prepare yourselves. Learn your books, open them up, take the time, especially if you're right now in the beginning and you're getting that itch that you want to start learning how to code, but you're still learning medical terminology. Take the time to just open the book on a Saturday and flip each and every single page and look at the pages. Just look at the pages. You don't have to read everything. There's going to be some things that catch your eye, yes. But what this is doing is laying that foundation of knowledge in your brain, because your brain is taking in information just like that all the time. But the more you get comfortable with these books, because these books are very intimidating because they are so big. But the more you talk with them, work with them, the more you work with them, the better off you'll be, because then you'll be more comfortable with the book. You're not going to be like somebody who sees this big book and be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This book is so big. Not really. If you know, okay, there's an index and there's a tabular section, there's your appendixes, there's all kinds of things. There's anatomy plates in there. And those anatomy plates will help you, especially if you struggle with anatomy, because it's just something that's nice and it's there as an illustration for you to look at when you are looking through things and knowing your anatomy, knowing your medical terminology. I can't stress this enough. I can't stress how important it is. A lot of people try to avoid this. I even got a question that says, is anatomy and physiology on the test exams? If you look at the domains of any of these exams for medical coding, you're gonna see those on there. So that's why I say you cannot avoid this. This is not something that you can get away with not learning. And if somebody tells you that, oh yeah, you can learn anatomy and medical terminology on the job, they're setting you up to fail. I'm telling you that right now. They are setting you up to fail, because no medical coder should be learning medical terminology and anatomy on the job. You're going to get more proficient with it on the job, certainly, because you're going to see things on there that you never knew. You didn't learn about this in medical coding school. But once you get into that specialty, then you're going to see, oh, okay, well, there's more sophistication that I'm going to be able to learn, because you're going to be learning directly from doctors, not just from books that are written by other medical coders, but you're going to be learning from other doctors who have had training in a number of places. You know, I've had doctors that I've worked with who were Yale medical school trained. So, you know, I mean, it really all depends on where these doctors go and who is teaching them. Okay. And you have something to offer them as a medical coder. Do not be intimidated just because they are doctors. I made that mistake in the beginning, obviously, because I was thinking, why does a doctor want to know anything that I have to say? But as a doctor once told me, he said, Blue, you're the medical coder and you know this stuff. I don't know this. I know how to be a doctor. You know the rules of helping me to make sure that everything's right and that I get paid like I'm supposed to. And I said, well, yeah, that's true. You know, if anybody's going to know these rules, it's going to be me, because that's why I have a job. That's why I'm able to keep my job, because I know these rules and I have to code properly. And if not, you know, they'll find another coder who can, right? So that's why you always have to stay on top of everything. And again, it starts in the beginning. Don't write, don't highlight, don't tab. You will notice that you will be a lot more proficient, because you're not going to get easily distracted by your notes, these stupid circles, or the highlighting. And yeah, I call them stupid circles, because the thing is, again, I don't agree with those types of things that don't help coders to critically think and to learn. Again, knowing everything in your book and where it is, that's the first step to learning the correct way. Because again, there's a lot of ways out there that are being shared that are just, you're not helping the coder. It's just making it 10 times harder for the coder to, you know, critically think or develop like they should. At least that's just my advice anyway. So that's why I say, when you are in your exam time, and this is another thing too, when you are in your exam time, you're not going to have time to read your notes. You will not, okay? So that's another thing that you need to know. If you are taking an exam with the American Health Information Management Association, the CCS, the CCA, or the CCSP, you're going to be taking it at a Pearson VUE testing center. This is a third-party testing center site where AHIMA sends all their, you know, medical coding candidates to go take their test, and they're going to inspect your books, and they're going to look at them. If they're all tabbed up, they're going to make you take those tabs off. If it's all written in and highlighted and all this other good stuff, and there's excessive writing, they can tell you that your book has excessive writing and you are not allowed to bring this book in. Therefore, you will forfeit your exam fee. I don't want to take a chance. $300 or $400, I don't want to take a chance. I'm not going to take that chance. I'm going to make sure I go in there with a clean book. Now, if you say to me, well, Blue, I've already written in my books because I didn't know. Well, you didn't know, you didn't know. I mean, if it's not so excessive, they say you can have a little bit of writing, but not excessive writing, okay? And you can find that in the candidate hand guide, okay? Again, the same thing with about the tabs. It says that you can have the tabs if the tabs came with the original book, but you cannot have homemade tabs, okay? So I'm just telling you guys these things because a lot of people don't share these things. And then I hear that there's some instructors that actually say, well, no, I've been telling my students, okay, well, have you looked at the hand guide for the candidate hand guide for your own association? Really? I'm just saying. And as for AAPC has a whole thing about writing and highlighting and tabbing. They like to do that in their books. To me, again, you're not setting the coder up for success when you do that. If you're with them, I mean, they have their own rules about that. But again, like I said, to me, you can be just as successful without those tabs because you really don't need them. All right. You need to practice with the book. That's going to make you better. That's going to make you a fantastic coder because, again, these notes are not going to mean a hill of beans on these exams because these exams are going to be on anything the association wants to test you on. Now, I'm not familiar with AAPC, how they have theirs, but I know with AHIMA, those exams are different for every single person. Not one person has the same exact exam, and they do that to protect the integrity of those exams. So if you pass, you know what you're doing. It's not because somebody else said to do this and somebody else said to do that. It's because you know your stuff. The CCS, I'm telling you guys this now, a lot of people want to go for that goal right away. And while that's great and that's wonderful, it's really good to set the bar high. Keep in mind, you got to work for that goal because that test will scare even the most seasoned medical coder. And I've seen seasoned medical coders fail that exam not once, but multiple times. So it doesn't really matter your background. It doesn't really matter your knowledge. Oh, I have a degree or I was a nurse. It does not matter. That medical coding exam, the CCS, does not discriminate. If you do not know, you will fail. If you are not fast, you will fail. These are all timed exams. And that CCS is a 4-hour lightning bolt exam, meaning that once you get into that room, it's like you enter a time warp and that time just flies. And while you have that clock, while you're taking the test that you could see that's counting down, it doesn't count up, it counts down. So as you're looking at that time is going. And if you don't set yourself up on okay, I'm going to be done by this time so that I have this much time left in the exam to do this section, because it's 2 sections. And if you run out of time, if you spend too much time on the first section, you're going to run out of time in that last section and you won't be able to finish. Okay. You want to be able to finish to give yourself the best shot at passing that exam. All right. So you have to learn these exam techniques as far as timing yourself. And how do you do that? Practice with the book, practice looking up codes. So that way you know what to spot when you're looking at these case studies. You're going to know exactly where to go. A lot of people will become dependent on these like the CCS exam prep book, and that's just not the way to go, guys. You cannot depend on those exam prep books to prep you for the exam, because none of those questions are on the exam. I have to say this because people think erroneously that those questions that are on the CCS prep book are on the exam. No, they're not. Because if that was the case, then everybody would be able to pass and there would be no way to gauge who knows what. Okay? So don't think that CCS exam prep book will prepare you, because no, it will not. What will prepare you is working through the workbooks like I've suggested. They're in the description box below. And looking at your books, getting comfortable with your books, and knowing exactly where to go. Because even for myself, when I was taking the CCS in November of 2021, and I was scared because, of course, you're nervous, right? I wasn't scared that I didn't know. I was scared because I didn't want to run out of time. And how I was able to combat that was because I already knew my books. I had been studying with my ICD-10 PCS book from Optum360 Coding. In the back, it has a whole list of all these procedures in the appendix that you can look up. And then in the next appendix, in Appendix N, like in Nancy, it has all the answers and some of the rationale to those. And that was how I learned how to code ICD-10 PCS. Because sometimes it's not always about reading. It's about actually being hands-on and looking up procedure codes. Okay, so that's my bit of advice there, even though I know this video is not about that. It's about writing, highlighting, and tabbing. Again, if you keep from wasting time on that, because I've had people who I've tutored before, and if you're looking for a tutor, my rate is in the description box below. My contact information is also there. I've had people who I've tutored say, well, Blue, I wasted a whole 8 hours tabbing my book one day. In that 8 hours that you were spent tabbing your book, highlighting and writing in your book, you could have spent looking at your book, practicing with your book. That's what you could have spent those 8 hours on, instead of putting tabs on there that are not going to help you. Why? Because you still have to look at the tabs, and you have, oh, you gotta flip here. Oh yeah, oh wait, my page already tore. When I see coders with ratty books, like they have all these pages torn and they're so proud of all these tabs and highlights that they did, it's just like, why? Why would you do that? And they write all over the book. You know, doctors and scholars write these books. It doesn't need you or anyone else to add anything to it. Trust me, they've thought of everything. If you learn how to use the book, you'll be able to see that there's notes, there's coding tips, there are pictures and illustrations and all kinds of informative tables that can help you. You got to learn to use the book. You have to know where these things are. So rather than waste your time highlighting, writing, tabbing, take the time to just open the book, look at it. You'll notice, on the inside covers, you'll see that there's, in the CPT manual, there's a whole list of all the modifiers and what they are, and where they apply, what setting. And then you'll see, as you flip through the book, you'll see, okay, where there's a thing about E&M, and there's a thing about anesthesiology, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things in the CPT manual that can help you. But you have to learn to help yourself by looking at the material. That's all I recommend, is look at the material. Keep these books clean as possible. I have started my career with clean books, and I still continue to have a career with clean books. I don't write in books because I have always respected books. I have loved books since I was a child. And because of that, my books always stay clean, and I use them a lot. I use them all the time. I use them when I'm with my Patreons. I use them when I'm making quizzes. I use them all the time. So trust me, they get their use. But they don't need their tabs because I know right where to go. I'm just saying. And you could be that way too. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. But thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you want to follow my advice, great. If you find that you have a way that's better, that helps you to learn, that's great too. The whole point is to learn. That's the whole point. That is the whole point. But again, don't set yourself up to fail with these little quick, schemy things of, I'm going to tab and write and highlight. This is not worth it. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.